Today is September 26th, 2011, and with us today is Harlan Saxton, past president, very active member, has been involved with lots of activities and leadership, and we welcome you to the forum of
Thank you.
History of Lakewood Country Club. Harley, why don't we start with where you were born and take us from that point forward.
Okay, well, I was born in Lakewood, Ohio, a lot of years ago, and was born and raised there, and went to college. My college was interrupted by a 4-year service in the Air Force. Came back and graduated from Baldwin Wallace, and came into the funeral business with my dad and my brother and my uncle, and have been doing that for over 50 years in Lakewood and Westlake, and that brings us up to the present as far as my occupation is concerned. I found Lakewood Country Club actually back in 1950. My brother's wife's father belonged at Lakewood Country Club, Dr. Ennis, and had my brother's wedding and reception here, and that was the first time during the bachelor week that I played Lakewood Country Club. Quite a bit different then than it is now. Trees have grown a lot bigger. We got out of the old farmhouse into the present club, and of course at this point are looking at the possibility of a new clubhouse. We'll see how that plays out, and I've enjoyed the club for 44 years now. I was president from 1978 to 1980. Was served just a little over 2 years because we changed the fiscal year in 1979, and it elongated my time by a few months over the normal 2 years, and just have enjoyed the people and the club, and a place to come to relax and enjoy, and that's where I am as far as the club is concerned. Over the years there have been many characters here, many personalities. I think one of the funniest things I've ever seen was in the Invitational, and I'm not sure what year it was, but we had a member by the name of Jack Zitzman, who has since passed away. But Jack was a big man, and he loved his golf, and we were playing on the new 12th hole, which is to the north of the old 12th hole, as most people will know. And he had a 2-foot putt for a birdie, and he made the statement that if he missed that putt, he was going to jump into the lake in front of the hole. Well, you know, it goes without saying, he missed the putt, and he went right into the lake. And that was the last day of the Invitational. So that night, we scrambled around and we got a trophy, a swimmer's trophy, and we gave him the Mark Spitz Award. Yeah. Oh gosh. And of course there had been a lot of other great people in the club that you know, just have had a ball as foursomes over the years. The Clarys, the Ferries, and Jim Dorncott. They were probably one of the more notorious foursomes or groups, with Tom Kennedy and several others in there. And but we called them the Irish Mafia, and they were great guys. They just had a heck of a time here. So
Interesting.
Yeah, really. And, oh geez.
Let me interrupt you just for a second.
Yep.
I always wanted to ask a funeral director. There's got to be things that happen.
Just what?
That things that happen as a funeral director that are either very, very sad or hysterically funny. There's all kinds of jokes that come about this. Do you recall in all your years some unusual circumstances that jump into your mind right away when something happened? And without names or whatever, but I always wanted to go ahead and ask somebody this question, and you're the man that I know can answer it.
Well, I'll tell you, Vic, there's one that comes to mind that I really can't put on tape here. But it was the funniest thing that has ever happened to me in that business. And I don't know, can you edit this if it's too?
Sure, we can.
Yeah, we
Okay.
can take anything out. Yes.
I was making arrangements one day with a widow who was fairly young. She was probably about 45, and her husband was maybe 47 when he passed away. And I got the necessary vital statistics and so forth, which we normally do. And then we started to get into the type of arrangements that she wanted. And she said, I don't know if I should say this or not, but my husband always told me when he died, she wanted me to stick a ham bone up his hind end and let the dogs drag him away. And that just broke me up completely. And people came from other offices around me to see what was going on in my office. But that goes, And then another time we had a large funeral procession, and we'd always taken the same route to Alger Cemetery. And we hadn't been there for about a year. And we had this large funeral, and we started for Alger Cemetery and went down the street that we'd always gone down, and they had made it a cul-de-sac. And now we've got about 60 cars all trying to turn around in this cul-de-sac to get back out to get to the cemetery. And that was, those are the two funniest things that ever happened.
Great.
Enjoyed it. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
All right.
All right.
So you joined in, it was 1967?
67, right.
Okay. And what was your level of activity back then? I mean, were you a weekend player, come out during the middle of the week player?
Well, generally I would play either Wednesday or Friday and Saturday. And then as I got older, I'd come out in the evenings and play 9 holes, maybe 3 times a week. And that was a lot of fun. I had a little group of guys that did that.
Who were they? What name of those famous group?
Oh,
individuals?
the fellows I play with, like Ralph Marlatt and Don Walters, Stu Hughes, Bud McRoberts,
Okay.
and the Cook brothers, Tom and Bob, and there were just a number of them. And,
Okay.
so.
Any unusual happenings with that group? They're like a Mart Spitz or something?
No,
Come on,
never happened.
Some other little game or gimmick that happened?
No, that was a pretty straightforward group. We just played golf and
Okay.
exchanged quarters at the end of the day. But
Any memorable moments on the golf course for you? Hole-in-ones or?
I've never had a hole-in-one. As much golf as I played, I probably eagling number 6, number 9, and number 7, Actually, the first time I played the course as a member, I drove number 7,
Wow.
but I 3-putted it. But the tees were up and it was early in the year, but I was always proud of doing that. And of course, back in those days, you could cut the corners a little bit more. The trees weren't as tall, and so you do that on number 4, because the tee was over to the right where you can see it still, and the trees were lower, and you could really cut the dogleg left and head for the green. Never quite made it, but had been in the traps around the green. So
Wow.
that it was a little different course back then. It wasn't quite as tight. I mean, it was always a tight course, but because the trees were smaller and so forth, you had a better chance of getting out of trouble. And enjoyed playing it back then, as I did up until about a year or so ago, when my hands got full of arthritis and can't hold the club like I used to, so I don't play as much. But it's
You joined right in the middle of the club hosting Cleveland Opens out here. Do you have any memories from those events?
well, actually, I worked the 1966 Cleveland Open. We had ambulance service back in those days, and the funeral directors provided the ambulance service for the tournament. Fortunately, nothing happened to anyone, but and then joined in '67, and then in '68 I was a marshal, and got to meet some of the players. It was a lot of fun, and well, another aside, and I think it was in '68, Arnold Palmer over on number 7 hit his tee shot, and it hit a lady right on her hind end, and of course he walked up to her and apologized and so forth, and he says, "Can I kiss it for you and make it well?" Which you know, I got a kick out of that one too.
A little bad to it, huh?
Yeah, but he was a great guy, or still is. But he was fun to listen to and so forth. He always had something to say to people, and a little bit different than it is today, I think. So.
Do you remember an occurrence of DiVincenzo playing here? Somebody told me that number 7, DiVincenzo lost the tournament there by taking some huge number, and lost the tournament. I don't know if that was true or not.
You know, Vic, I don't remember that, but
Somebody had told me that
Huh.
one time. And because that hole is so short but deadly and small,
Right.
if you go over it or you're in the bunkers or whatever, it can
Huh.
you double and triple it. Okay.
no, I don't remember that, but
Okay.
yeah.
Good. Any other notoriety of those pros that you had an opportunity to talk with?
No, not really. No, but Doug Sanders was always very dapper in his dress, and he was way ahead of his time. But no, they were a pretty good group of guys.
Good.
Very nice. So, yeah.
What before your presidency, were you active, involved with committees out here, obviously, or?
Well, yeah, the first committee I was on actually was the admissions committee, you know, as we all know, going around interviewing people before they became members. Then I was on the golf committee for a number of years, in the House committee, Greens committee, and that was it as far as committees went, but it stretched over a number of years, probably 30 years. So. And
Obviously, good prep work for getting on the board and becoming president. Huh?
right, yeah, it was, I did, of course, I was on committees for probably about 10 years before I became president, or getting on the board in any case. And,
Any milestones during your reign as president that happened at the club, or?
well, I think probably, well, we put up the extension on the pub when I was president.